Hello, everybody. Hello, soul warriors. Hello, sun path light seers. Welcome. Welcome, game changers. We are going to talk something very big today. This is the greatest reset of mankind. You are finding yourself in the path of the greatest reset of mankind. This is the biggest shift of life that you have ever experienced and will never have the opportunity to experience again. This is, in fact, the return of Christ. In fact, the return of Christ. But in order to get into and to rise into the greatest reset of mankind, you have to clear and heal and rise above all that was. Welcome. Welcome to the return of Christ. I am the return of Christ. I am the ascension. I don't just say that lightly, and I don't say that from my ego. I say that from truth. For this channel you find yourself on has been the entirety of the return of Christ, and it's the most beautiful, the most magnificent, the most mind-blowingly profound experience you could ever imagine. You could have never dreamt of, and I do mean ever. From clearing Mount Shasta, which was not of light, that's what created the false veil, to clearing and activated the pyramid in Fiji, to returning the root chakra back to Fiji, which was the God portal, undoing the false veil of darkness, and returning your awakening back to light, to activating all the pyramids all over the globe that were of feminine and masculine plight. And I do mean activating those pyramids. That is what has essentially brought about the shift of light, the rising of these frequency portals that you're experiencing right now. 2, uniting with my DM, uniting with my twin soul on multiple levels and clearing all darkness to the beginning of time, to freeing Jesus's soul to seeing how he truly died. For what you're gonna realize if you watch the videos on this channel is that everything they told you, and I do mean everything, was a lie. Now my throat usually goes wonky when I'm missing something or I need to slow down. Excuse me. So I'm going to slow down. After we freed Jesus's soul, I went into the biggest battle of my life. I fought extremely hard for my twin flame soul, for the half of my soul, my DM, my divine masculine side. For if you truly know what happened to Jesus, you'll know why. They lied to you. Oh boy, did they lie to you. Okay. Your karma is not forgiven. See, the thing is God is all forgiving. God is pure unconditional love. And I'm getting so many chills when I talk about this. God is good. He's really good. He doesn't judge. There is no judgment in unconditional love. The two cannot coexist. You cannot have judgment where unconditional love is. Okay, they don't exist. And in order to rise into the new earth, which is happening right now, now we are ascending. Right now, you have to be ready to ascend. Because what I am doing is ascending the earth through the 13 portals of time. But over the last 5 years, I have been bringing through the return of Christ. That's not a maybe. It's not a, oh, she's crazy, because I'm not. I truly am not. And the new earth is going to be, it is one of the most beautiful places you could even imagine. Pure freedom, pure sovereignty, pure joy, pure glee, pure wonderment, pure abundance, like we've never been able to have before. Well, we did at least at one time, but now it's even going to be more. When Jesus died, he didn't die on a cross. They lied to you. He did not die for your sins. That takes away your free will. See, the thing is the gods of time created mankind. I am a part of the gods of time. Eve and Adam, Jesus and Mary Magdalene, and Sekhmet and Horus, all of the other gods you have heard of, are all walking amongst you at this time. We are here. We are walking amongst you at this time. Because not only do you have the biggest darkness rising for all to see, you also have the most beautiful light rising for you to be. The most beautiful, free, sovereign being that you could ever be. Free will rising. You've always had free will. Okay? You've always had free will. That's why they talk about the puppet master, the fallen. In Mount Shasta Part 2, I cleared one of the biggest pieces of the fallen. Archangel Samael was the original fallen angel, and he burned in Mount Shasta Part 2. And in each part of my journey, from the Jesus and Mary Magdalene timeline, to the Sekhmet and Horus timeline, to the Adam and Eve timeline, which we are now in, I removed all darkness that kept you outside of your full power, full sovereignty. See, when Jesus died, he didn't die on a cross. He couldn't die for your sins. God is not sacrificial. God does not agree with suffering and bloodshed and death. That is not what we were meant to be. That is not what we were once of. And we have returned home once again. We have returned home once again. And you can either choose to push past that resistance, to see the truth, and to heal every bit of you that is outside of unconditional love, to rise above to the highest, most beautiful space of mankind, or you can choose to not. But you can't stay here doing the same things you've always done. That has been undone. Using any light in the darkness cannot happen anymore. Using any darkness into the light cannot happen anymore. That is who I am. The beginning of my journey, I showed you. I began removing darkness from light 5 years ago upon my own massive Kundalini awakening that I didn't ask for or see coming. It was beautiful. I used my light, my Kundalini light, to awaken and activate those pyramids of ascension, the feminine, and with my DM, my new DM, because I got a walk-in, the masculine ones. Because of the new DM, I got a walk-in DM after the biggest battle of my life. The biggest battle of my life, because my original DM, part of what happened to Jesus, his soul was so filled with darkness, he couldn't see all of what was light. And in the end, he couldn't get past that the fallen angels that were holding on to his soul so tight. And all of that plays out on this channel. Wasn't me, my friends. Oh no. I did everything that I could. I fought so very hard. I stayed balanced from the heart center, and I chose love the whole way. I kept pushing past all resistance and didn't let negative thoughts incorporate. I didn't throw daggers and judgments at others. I only chose love the whole way. And even when they shattered my arm into oblivion, I still chose love. I couldn't take medications. I couldn't have the surgery. I let them squeeze my bones very painfully back into place, and I kept going. And during that time, that was the time before the resurrection occurred on Christmas Day of 22. I brought down the anointing of the blood of Christ all by myself. Do you know why we needed the blood of Christ to be brought down? You hear about that, right? Why would we need the blood of Christ? If God is unforgiving, like he is all forgiving, I should say, not unforgiving, excuse me, take that away. God is all forgiving. He never not forgives, right? He's unconditional love. Why would on earth would he sacrifice his only son? And what happened to Adam and Eve? Does that not make sense to you? How is Jesus the only son of God? Did you forget about Adam and Eve? For For the original fallen began tearing apart Adam and Eve. Then came Sekhmet and Horus because they tried to come back again. Let me slow down. They're slowing down my throat so I can focus because I get so excited. And it took me 5 years to do it all. So there's a lot of work to talk about. So I'm going to slow down. In order to rise, you must be pure sovereign. In order to rise, all karma must be healed. It is not forgiven because there's nothing to forgive. Throughout history, throughout every lifetime you've ever had, you've made the choices through free will to create your karma. Karma is created through things outside of unconditional love. Choosing to be bound by the shackles that bind you, choosing to be blinded by the shadow that blinded you, choosing to have judgments, choosing with free will to create all of the karma through every lifetime. And it goes back to Adam and Eve, not Jesus. Jesus as well, but also Adam and Eve, God's original children, God's original creation of life, Adam and Eve. And when I began birthing the new earth on August of this year, the full path of my DM&I was done. Adam and Eve. He put our feet into the core of the earth and we began birthing the new Garden of Eden, which is all of the earth, my friends. It is going to be all of the earth, everything. What some would call heaven on earth, except for there is no true heaven and hell. It's just light or void, light or darkness. You cannot house both anymore. God did not choose to give you his only child for you to kill and torture, to free your karma. That doesn't make sense. How is it that God said, yes, torture and kill my son and hang him on a cross with blood coming down his hands, and with that I forgive your karma? Doesn't make sense. That is not real. What really happened to Jesus goes back to Adam and Eve. Jesus and Mary Magdalene is Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve is Sekhmet and Horus. Each level of those lifetimes, I have cleared all darkness back to the beginning of time and called back my soul fragment of my DM&I. I have undone all darkness out of the 12 gates, or what you would call ascension portals of time. The portals of time. You are in the end portal of time. And now is the time to rise once and for all by healing all karmic demise. You have to heal it. You cannot conceal it. You cannot cut cords. You cannot bypass it. You cannot expect it to be forgiven. That takes away your free will. God doesn't not forgive you. There's no reason to repent. He's unconditional love. And you have to match that vibration of unconditional love to rise above. That doesn't mean that you just bypass all that you've done to put your soul out of the light. That's what happens with karma. See, the shadow, the puppet master, the original fallen gets into your head and makes you think things that are not of true God. False religion, division, judgment, ego, all part of the shackles that bind you, making you think you can do things outside of unconditional love, that you can judge others, to think you are better of what is supposed to be equality, to make you think money is more important than love, to make you think you must sacrifice yourself just to live, or to even make you think that God would sacrifice anything or anyone. For mankind, why would he sacrifice a God for mankind? That doesn't make sense. Negative thinking, lower vibrational things, wounds, is where karma brings and breeds. What happened to Jesus is they poisoned him with bread and wine. Then they used his blood. They used his blood to create the Holy Grail. That's what they called it, the Holy Grail, because they used Jesus's blood to trap mankind, to enslave you, to disempower you, to divide you, and to put this false veil over you of a false God, the fallen, the puppet master, as they call him. And it would get in your head, and it would get you to do things outside of unconditional love, through fear, through judgment, through ego, through greed, and manipulation and power control, to conquer and divide, to make you think that there's all these different religions, which also doesn't make sense. God is not division. There is power in union of unconditional love, and that is why they divided you. Because if you were in your full power and you could see the truth, they would not have been able to manipulate you. But because you chose through free will to do things outside of God and to also take part in ripping apart Adam and Eve, Jesus and Mary Magdalene, and Sekhmet and Hours, you have to clear the karmic ties. You have to heal them all to rise. You heal them all through the testaments of love. For do you choose the asshole energy, the greed, the fear, the ego, the manipulation, the control, the division, all the shackles that bind, to give your free will away to things that bind your mind? Or do you free yourself through pure sovereignty of your power and choose love the whole way? You are being tested in these lifetimes over your karma. And to think you have no karma, to think it's just forgiven, is the shadow very loudly in your life at play, because it is a battle for your soul. See, Adam and Eve, the way it really happened is the puppet master, the original fallen, had power. He was an angel. He knew how to shift the poles. He knew how to get in people's heads and create this dark energy of mind control, and create this shifting of the poles of the energy of the earth, and get mankind to go against God. And that took part in all lifetimes of creating the karmic demise. For we are in the Great Reset, my friends. We are in the Great Reset. This is the greatest reset of mankind. And in order to be a part of that reset, you have to reset all of your karmic demise. You do that through healing it, through choices in disguise. Every testament to God has already been being presented to you. Your heart has already been measured. And through the choices of either unconditional love, choosing to rise above that false veil, to see the truth beyond the disguises, and to choose love beyond the most toughest challenges of your karmic demises, to choose pure sovereignty and to see the truth through every shadow energy. Those that do that are clearing their karma and rising above. Those that don't choose to throw judgment, that choose to take the time to watch the truth that is played out right here in front of all of you. For God is here. On my channel, you will see these things. On my channel, you will see these things. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you something really quick. See, the thing is I didn't even know what I was doing when I was doing it. This is the Ascension playlist, my Return of Christ playlist. This right here is when I freed his soul. He was poisoned by John the Apostle, and it was very painful. It took him 20 or 30 minutes to die, and I had to process his death. Okay? I had to process Jesus's death. which I'm going to fix these titles because people don't even know what they're looking at half the time, right? It's too deep. So I had to free his soul, and my DM at the time was not ready to take that on because he was surrounded by the fallen, which during this journey, it was the biggest lifetime battle I've ever had. I survived because I chose love the whole way, but my DM did not. And I got a walk-in. I got the most beautiful gift from God of a walk-in DM. But in this one, when I freed Jesus's soul, it didn't go up to heaven. It went over into the Garden of Eden into a flower. I cleared Mount Shasta, part 1, not of light. And in this one, we undid the Emancipation Proclamation and so many other things. Then I activated the pyramid in Fiji, which was the God portal. There's 1 and 2 of pretty much everything I've done. Then I started healing the sun and the moon and undoing the false concept of time. Time. Your concept of time is not real. It's false. Your shortened lifespan has been a lie the whole time. Time. It's not time, it's breath. Breath. Then I began activating more pyramids all over the globe. These are feminine. And I used my light to do it. And at first I didn't know they were feminine until they told me later. And then when my new DM rose and we activated the masculine feminines, it made full sense. Then I started clearing the Sphinx, okay, which is a major part of the portals of time. But later on, I found out that is where Horus died. But I hadn't yet got to that lifetime to clear it, which is the portal of the Nile you are all now in. For later on, not in this one, later on, Horus rises from the Sphinx and Horus return. The Sphinx really isn't called the Sphinx. That's just what mankind calls it in this lifetime. But the true name of it means Horus return. Then I activated dormant chakra systems, which took part in birthing the new earth. Because in the new earth, it's all pure. The chakra system of the matrix was undone. The matrix is falling and fast. And if you're falling with it, you're losing light fast. Because you cannot mix darkness with light. Okay. Then I started undoing the collective and individual shadow component healings. They showed me where I died in Lake Titicaca when I lost the white flame, when it went out from my heart space. My twin flame and I had a battle of a lifetime. God married us and showed you the entire return of Christ play out right here. It was me and my DM coming together, clearing all darkness, opening up the God's portal, and returning all gods to the earth where we rightfully belong. We are walking amongst you now. All gods are walking amongst you now. And you are in a karmic playout. See, Judgment Day isn't really Judgment Day. God doesn't judge. That's mankind. It's karma. All of the karma back to the beginning of time that took part in removing the light of Christ, that took part in undoing unconditional love, is your karma. The fall of the false goddess. See, if you know the truth about Adam and Eve, there was a false goddess. They blinded them. They got them out of balance, and Adam chose a false goddess and killed Eve. My light went out, and then they shifted the poles later on, and the flood came because of that, not of God. Okay, and then my DM was attacked, and they were attacking me the whole time. And through this, lots of people threw judgment and became the fallen. They were attacking me and my soulmate. They wanted to stop the ascension. And I didn't even know at that time who I was or what I was doing. I just knew what was happening to me and that I had a twin flame suddenly and I was doing all these things that I didn't understand, and they were powerful. Oh, they were powerful. Okay. This whole entire time was the attack of my on my life. Okay. And then I found out that I was part of the deep blue sea. The deep blue sea. Being attacked, and oh my God, it's clear now, my love for you is deeper than the deep blue sea. I kept hearing that. And one day I told my DM, listen, We have to fight the deep blue sea. And he heard me. And he had one last attempt to help fight that dragon. The deep blue sea, El Diablo, is what it means. And unfortunately, he wasn't strong enough. I survived, and he chose not to. He chose to give space for a walk-in. What does it mean for my DM to no longer be in a walk-in to replace him? God warned him, and he chose. And I was sad. I was sad. But I got a beautiful walk-in who has a pure heart of gold. Unconditional love versus conditional love. What is the difference? Spirit's time versus our time, and why I won't give up on my DM. I fought hard all the way to the end. And then on August 30th, he died. And he did die. I got a walk-in DM, and that's right here. Okay. And I didn't know what was coming. God said he had a plan. I just show up when God tells me to show up, and I do the work on earth because that's where I am. Then when I got but before I got the walk-in DM, I brought down the blood of Christ. And I didn't know why yet either. I was like, ew, why am I healing with the blood of Christ? It was truly the blood of Christ, you guys. And then on Christmas Day, after I got my walk-in DM in August 30th of 22, Christmas Day came of 2022. And I had to do a live on here on Christmas Day, and I didn't know why. And in that live, I began doing a healing, and God called it the resurrection. And I began uniting Jesus and Mary Magdalene's soul, which is mine and my DM. And in that, it was painful. And I began undoing the Holy Grail, because not only did they kill Adam and Eve and rip them apart, they also did it to Jesus and Mary Magdalene. They're the same soul, just different lifetimes. And in these, I tell you, it is a karmic shift now. Jesus didn't die for your sins. That doesn't make sense. That takes away your free will, because you have to be strong. You have to be pure sovereign. You have to undo what you've done against the light of God through your free will. God can't do it for you. Why? So you can get into the new earth and do it again? No, you have to learn your lessons. I undid the Holy Grail, which was a contract written in Jesus's blood by John the Apostle and 3 others that are fallen. So the fallen angels got in his head, and he listened like a little puppet. And he tortured Jesus and poisoned Jesus. And when Jesus finally died, after 20 excruciating minutes of burning from the inside out and then bleeding out of every orifice, they made Mary take his blood, and they wrote a contract in Hebrew in his blood, which trapped all of mankind. That is when the cross of the Ankh broke, and that is why they hung him on the cross, to mock you all, because they stole his soul. And that is what I was battling this whole time, was for the soul of my DM. And the day they gave it back to me, they gave me a book. And I opened the book, and a crow flew out. And I had to process what that meant. I got my soul back. Then more things happened, taking us into 7D, activating all masculine pyramids, fires and earthquakes, and just all of this darkness being removed, all of the shifting of the energies of the earth occurring. 5 new poles of the earth were created. I shifted them back through the hands of time. This is why my DM and I matter, because I am the eye of Ra, and he is the eye of Horus. But in order to know the truth, to see the truth and be nothing but the truth, you have to rise above the resistance that blinds you. And that is what created your karma. Was choosing that resistance, choosing the veil, choosing the false reality. After the Jesus and Mary Magdalene timeline came Sekhmet and Hours. And in this one, I clear the darkness of the crystal in the core of the earth back to light. I call back my power of the time of Sekhmet, because I had just done that from Mary. And Jesus's soul was still in the flower. and you'll see why in just a moment. In this one, I was Sekhmet. They put my feet in water. They said I'm the queen of life. I didn't know what that meant either. Then the Nile turned to blood. I had to ask what that meant too. And then, after I regained my full power, the gates of heaven opened and the Nile dried out. And I explained to you what the cross was. Okay, it's not real. The Ankh is the true cross. Everything they told you was a lie. This was my very first workshop where I started dividing darkness from light. Okay, Atlantis, Lemurian War, Mount Shasta Part 2, I burned Samael, and more. There's a lot to do with these. And in this one, my dam was supposed to be with me, so I cried a lot. And God said I didn't have to do it, but I did it. You have to stand in strength and power and see beyond the illusions of disguise. In this one, I fixed the recalibration of the Earth's equilibrium, which fulfilled the northeast, south, and west prophecy, Revelations 21:13. And then in this one, I got to process the Earth's death and took her into heaven, and I processed it through my body. It was very painful. And then finally, Jesus's soul united with my DM. And this one happened probably a year ago now or more. I don't know. A little less than a year ago. Then what really happened to Jesus? Eye of Ra, Eye of Horus, the brain and the countdown. Taking us into 7D, we have more than one sun. And that's part of the prophecy as well for a reason. And there's always been people who throw judgments my way and refuse to watch the whole way, and that's your karma. Your karma is not choosing to see through a lens of unconditional love. Your karma was created through picking up the puppet master energy and choosing to divide the light with darkness. And you have to heal all karma, and that is why not everyone will ascend. Okay, snakes were important because I puked 3 of them up every time I upgraded. Every time I cleared the darkness and united the souls of my DM and I would throw up a snake out of my solar plexus energetically. And then Horus rose from the Sphinx. Okay, all kinds of pyramid activations were done. And then on the eclipse, I spoke through the sun and the moon and called everybody home. At least those that can hear it in their heart space. This is why you have to have a pure heart, because they created that veil that blinded you from God. Okay. Then I returned full power of the sun to the earth, which you're watching part of that play out now. Incas and Mayans rose from Lake Titicaca. This is the actual work, but you'd have to watch it to see. But see, this is the thing. You can only see to where your shadow lies. And only those who can see through pure light and love will now rise. You cannot have any karma. God said enough. The heart review of the collective soul was not of love. So he bypassed some time and called it a great reset of mankind. Then I started birthing the new earth and removing all of the matrix light. And on day 6, this was beautiful. Day 1, Adam and Eve were born. God put my DM and I together through our solar plexus, put our feet into the new earth, and we birthed the Garden of Eden. See how many people are ready to see that? There's too much shadow at play. Day 2, not a lot of people were ready to see that one either, because it's beyond your limited mind space. You have to be evolving. Day 3, sun and the moon stuff. Day 4 was seasons and life expansion. Not many of you wanted to see that one either. This is the actual birthing of new earth. On day 1, God did this. On day 2, God did this. Day 5, it was the chakra system. That goes with that dormant chakra system video. When I do these for the new earth, I was undoing the matrix altogether. The matrix has no light. God is not on the matrix side. The angels are not on the matrix side. You cannot divide darkness from light right now. Day 6, I called back all divination tools and the light of God. You cannot use the light in the darkness anymore, and that is occurring right now. People who aren't pure of heart are losing the light very quickly. And then on day 7, the 12 trumpets played, and 3 major events will now occur on the matrix side. Day 8 was the end cycle. The portal of time and heart reviews were applied. Okay. And that is why recently I told you heart reviews are being applied. The pyramids had everything to do with it. So your karma keeps you from seeing the light. Your shadow keeps you from seeing the light, keeps you from seeing God, because it was all a part of the karmic demise. It was all a part of the shadow ties. It's all a part of what blinds you. And God said, rule of thumb was, if you can't see everything, there was work to do. For the gods are walking amongst you. Jesus has been right here in front of you the whole time. And your karma is where you chose against that light, where you chose through free will to remove yourself from the light of God, to go into that veil of illusion that tells you that your karma is already forgiven. See, I asked God what Judgment Day was. Judgment Day is you reap what you sow day. When I brought down the anointing of the blood of Christ and the resurrection, they told you, you cannot have karma to rise. You have to heal it. This is now your karmic demise. The portal we are now in, the time we are now in, is your karmic playout. Judgment Day is you reap what you sow day. It means you either heal all of your karma, choose your own sovereign power and creation, choose to rise to the unconditional love of the light of one through healing all of what through you has been done in order to be a part of the great reset of mankind, or you can't rise because you don't match the light of the one. That's that lighter than a feather your heart must be on the scales of justice that be. When your heart is measured, they measure how much love really is there or how much lessons you still needed to learn outside of God. True God, not the false one. For Sekhmet and Horus, Adam and Eve, and Jesus and Mary Magdalene were the same soul, just different lifetimes. And Jesus is not the original son of God. It was Adam and Eve. They don't want you thinking about that. When I birth the new earth, it's my DM&I of Adam and Eve, but it's our full powered return. All these Christ DNA activations can only work through those who are pure of energy, because you cannot mix darkness with light anymore. And God does not just go, oh yeah, you've chosen outside of light, so I'm just going to go ahead and forgive that so you don't learn the lessons and you can do it again. No, because if you make it to new earth and you use darkness into the new earth, you will never make it there again. It will hurt you. You cannot bring karmic creations into unconditional love. You have to heal your karma. Some risks are worth all the effort because the shadow is going to bind you. The shadow is going to blind you. It's going to make you think things are true that are not true because it doesn't want you taking your power back. Because if you heal your karma and if you choose to rise above that illusion, to call your power back in every way and to see love, they lose your power. They lose your light and they have nothing without that. Once they chose to become a fallen, they had no more light and power. So they have taken all of mankind. And you chose through your free will to be a part of that demise. So you have to choose to rise. You have to choose through soul growth, lessons hidden in disguise, to release all of that and for once to choose the light of truth, the light of God, and the light of unconditional love. No matter how hard or difficult the shadow might make you think it is, because that's all it is. They get in your head and they create this illusion, and it causes chaos and confusion, depression, fear, anxiety. All of those things are very low vibrations. Those are the things where you're outside of your body, or you're outside of your power. You're being duped by the shadow. They've got you. They've got you. They're hooks in you. You've given your power to them. When you're in love and joy and gratitude, and your lens is that of unconditional love, your lens, the way you see the world around you, you know that it's a reflection of you. You know God gave you all the tools you needed to heal it all and rise above into love, pure love of unconditional creations. That's a very high vibration. That's the one you have to be in. You have to see the truth. To think that karma is just forgiven for you is a shadow. You are blinded by the shadow. God didn't tell you to create karma. You did it through the lens of the fallen. The veil of illusion got you to give your power away. And you can't just go, oh, I'm forgiven, and rise to the light and not learn those lessons to do it again. Because this is the greatest reset of mankind. So if you get to New Earth now, where Adam and Eve has fully returned through all fragmented pieces of light, you will really, truly hurt yourself in ways you've never done before. And you will never be able to see that light. So it is guarded. It is protected. And I talked about that in the most recent video I did about pyramids and Anubis and heart reviews being applied, because the new earth is highly protected. It can only be the light of purest love of love. You have to have all wounds healed. You have to have all karma healed through your choices, hidden in disguise. To assume, to throw judgments without stepping past that resistance, to have watched all the videos of the return of Christ, because it's quite vast, it's quite powerful, it's quite true God. And there's been a veil of illusion blinding you all from what is truth, what is God, what is love unconditional. So you would have to push past that battle for your soul through those choices hidden in disguise, to see the truth, to listen to the truth, and to be honored in what God gave you. The path home, the path of the sun and the moon, my DM and I. This is the portal of the Nile painting because God put us in it recently. Religion trapped a lot of souls of mankind. It's not real. For under the White House, under Mount Shasta, were a lot of the fallen and trapped souls. And they wear these black cloaks with a cross that's especially upside down. Because the only true cross is the Ankh. They broke it when they ripped apart the masculine and feminine God. And they did it through multiple lifetimes, what took me 5 years to undo. So you need to know the truth, because right now is the time to rise. And in the new earth, there will be no karmic demise. There will be no separation, no division, no judgments. There will be no bloodshed at all. God would never sacrifice his child for mankind, for anybody. God would never sacrifice mankind for anything. That is not God. All the suffering, all the bloodshed, all the division, all the tears, those are very low vibration of the fallen, not of God. God is pure joy, sovereignty, happiness, love, and he gave you the path to rise above. But most did not push past that resistance. Because where true God is, and all the work that I do, there will be resistance against you. You have fallen so prey to the shadow, to division, to judgment, to ego, to money control, greed, manipulation. To see the truth, you had to have a pure heart. To see God of truth, you have to have a pure heart, because that is where he is. That is where we're all connected. It's through the heart of the one. In order to hear my voice without judgments and blindness trying to overcome you, you had to heal all karma. For those that are rising now will have joy, love, true abundance in ways that were always meant to be ours. This is the greatest reset of mankind. In order to see clearly, you have to be in the here and the now. You can't think 5 minutes from now or 5 seconds ago. The only thing that's real is this moment in time. And the way to truly see past that illusion is to not be in your head. You have to get control back of the power of the mind. You have to go into your heart space and remove all of the shadow to see clearly. from what left you blind. You have to call your power back from all of the shackles that bind. So you needed to surrender to silence. You needed to surrender to silence. You needed to surrender to the softest voice hidden inside here, because the shadow is very loud. The shadow is going to tell you that I'm not real. The shadow is going to tell you you don't have to heal your karma. The shadow is going to tell you that Jesus died on a cross. The shadow is going to make you drink and eat the poison that killed him in a house of church of God. The shadow is loud and in your face and wants to disrupt the message of God, your intuition, your co-creation of God. So you had to surrender to silence. You had to raise your vibration and not surrender to sorrow, but surrender to play and joy and love's creation, your pure sovereignty. You had to get out of the matrix. You can't be working your miserable 9 to 5 and thinking you have to do that to survive. Your power is being taken away because you're a powerful creator. So you had to surrender to all negative thinking in every way. You had to stay in the here and the now only, surrendering to that silence of the mind. You had to. And they think it's so hard because they don't want you to do that. Because if you are in your full power, you're taking your power back from them. They have no more power because they can only steal it from the light. So they would use it through media, through everything they could to conquer and divide, through religion, making you think that God just forgives all your karma. God doesn't not forgive. He loves everybody, but you created that karma. And you have to learn the lessons in order to be a part of the greatest reset of mankind, to rise into new earth, to the golden era. That means you learned all of the lessons that kept you outside of unconditional love, because you cannot do it again. You cannot ever do it again. So the new earth is highly guarded, because in truth, you're a part of my light. And if you pull me out of balance, it hurts you. If you throw judgment towards the light, it hurts you. And you don't want to do that. You want to learn the lessons. So some risks, thinking, oh, it's scary to quit my job. It's scary to have my sovereignty back. It's scary to stand alone and have people judge me. Those risks were your karmic demise lessons. Those risks, you choosing against the matrix and choosing into love, was part of you clearing your karma. For your lessons you've done before. If you've thrown judgments at God, those are part of your karmic lessons that you needed to learn, to clear, to rise above. You cannot have any karma. You get a heart review. If all of your karma is not cleared, you don't make it to the new earth. Period. It is not just forgiven, because you cannot go to new earth and do the same lessons again. Love is in the air. Love is what you must be a part of. The vibration of pure unconditional love. It's a vibration. God is a vibration of love. The shadow is lower vibrations that keep you blinded from that love. There is depth in digging deeper. You needed to get into the silence, take back your power from the mind, and dig deeper into all of the shadow that blinded you. You had to dig it out and keep digging it out and keep healing it in order to rise. And because a lot of mankind wasn't doing that, we've gone too far now. So you are now in the karmic play out. So if you have any karma, it will now be your demise. Because in order to rise into the most beautiful space of heaven on earth, Garden of Eden, the golden era, you had to be pure of heart. You couldn't have lessons to still learn in karmic demise. Those are lessons that you've created for yourself that took you outside of unconditional love. And it was your job to learn them once and for all so that you can truly rise above. You had to release all pains, all wounds, all sorrows, pure forgiveness of yourself and others, to become that light as a feather, to rise into the light of the one. For you have been called home. You can, a lot of people think that they can just use their light in the darkness still, that they can still channel God and have wounds, that they can still be healing people and not be pure of heart. And that is not the case. There is an illusion. The shadow is an illusion, and it makes you think things that are not true. It was your job to choose past that illusion, that resistance, that confusion, to see the truth of what really is, and what really is in deep inside of your heart. That's true. Deep inside of your heart. So if you're in a space of karmic demise, of self-destruction, of judgment towards yourself or anyone, or you can't see all of what I did, if you're picking and choosing the work that I've done, and you're not going, she really is the one, then there was work to do, because you're blinded by the shadow in your heart. Everything I've done is in the Akashic records as well. And I do mean everything, which is why people like De La Roca can see the work that I did pretty much right after I do it. But even he had work to do. He still has a little bit of shadow too, right? Christ's return has not occurred yet, though. Like, people don't know who Christ is yet. But at least they can see all that's happening. Can you? Can you see it all? Can you truly tune into it all? I know people who still claim that they can do healings and read the Akashic records, but in truth, they're not. They're doing it through the light of the shadow. They're cutting contracts. They're listening to the shadow. They're not healing people. They're burying them more and more and more through the illusion. You have to be in a silent state of being. You have to be able to listen to the most gentle nudges from the deepest spaces of your heart. You have to be aligned with the path of the sun. You have to be pure sovereign, all matrix shackles undone. You cannot be controlled by the matrix to rise above. Some of us are rising and some of us are falling right now. And those that think they have to work their 9 to 5, those that think they have to fear and all of this stuff, the V's, all of these things that can't see that they were just here to block your DNA. Did you know there's a virus matrix wall that's playing out right now? I healed it for those that chose the path to righteousness. They don't have the virus matrix wall. They won't get sick. They have the actual anointing of the blood of Christ. Their water will be pure where others will not. They've gone through the portals. They've awakened their soul. They can see the truth. And they don't allow your judgments to leave them feeling less than whole, or others' judgments. I'm not saying it's you. They digged deeper. They kept digging past the shadow of illusion into what is truly true, to what really happened, who I am, what love is. They healed all their karma through the choices hidden in disguise. And you must be honest with yourself first before you can see all of the lies. You must be willing to be truly honest with yourself first before you can see all of the lies. That means stand alone. You have to surrender to that negative thinking. You have to silence the mind to hear true God in your heart. For the louder and more conjunct the mind is, that mindfulness is false. You can't hear God. You're in the shackles that bind. Mount Shasta was the portal of the mind. Mount Shasta in Fiji, pyramid activation, that was the portal of the mind. Being grounded into God or rooted into darkness. Your karma was created by you. It's the puppet master that got in your head, that got you to see things that were not true, that you chose to make true in your reality through fear, through judgment, through ego, through money, greed. You chose to create your karma outside of God, outside of love, and to take the power of that light. To give your power to the darkness, to give your power of light of God to the darkness, so that the darkness can create pain and sorrow and separation through the power of the light. And in order to make it into the new earth, which is so beautiful, which is heavenly plight, you had to learn your lessons of where you gave your power to the light. You had to learn your lessons of where you gave your power to the light. That is what cleared your karma. Or, I'm sorry, where you gave your power of the light to the darkness. You had to learn your lessons and where you were giving your power of the light to the darkness, which hurt God, which hurt Adam and Eve, which hurt Jesus and Mary Magdalene, which hurt Sekhmet and Hours. You, anybody who has karma, chose to give their power of God to the darkness, to create separation, despair, judgment, ego, fear, and money controlling greed. You, with karma, chose through free will to give your power of the light to darkness, to take part in the ripping apart of Adam and Eve, of Jesus and Mary Magdalene, and Sekhmet and Hours. He did it through mankind. He used the light of you. And it is your job to learn those lessons of where you were giving your power away to the darkness to cause damage in the light. God gives you his light. God gives you free will of power of creation, of divination, all these abilities of beautiful power of healing plight. And the shadow got all of you to give that power to them through free will. And unless you learn those lessons of where you allow the shadow in to blind you and to give your power away, you won't make it to the light. Let me repeat that. God gave you his gift of light, his gift of breath, his gift of power, divinations, of creations, of healing plight. God gave you the gift of God, the gift of light, the gift of power creation. The shadow fell away from God and needed your light to have that power. So he did it through mind control and manipulation to get you through free will, because nothing can happen to you unless you allow it to. And I do mean nothing. Nothing can happen to you unless you allow it to, because there is free will. That is the only law of creation, free will. So the shadow gets in your head. The shadow gets in your head and convinces you things that are not true. And the moment you bite into them and you choose the shadow over God is the moment you gave your power to the darkness to help rip apart God. Your karma. This is now karmic play out. And if you do not choose to call all your power back, no matter how difficult it may be, to stop the path of darkness from taking your power away, calling your power back every step of the way and choosing above it into unconditional love only through the strength that is you, calling your power back from the darkness all of the way until your heart is pure sovereign, till your heart is the purest light and you can see the truth in all that is. You did not clear your karma. You had to do it through free will, just as the darkness used you through your free will. You have to do it through your free will to rise. You gave your power away to the darkness. You had to take it back into the light. You had to choose to remove all shadow and be of pure light through your lessons hidden in disguise. God gave you a path through the one that would help you through. But even that people couldn't see past into. You gave your power away to the darkness. You had to call it back to the light. You gave God's light power to the darkness that caused pain and division of all things light. Every one of mankind took part in it at some point in time, some period of their lifetime. Very few are purest of heart. But those that are the purest of heart, those that are pure in their sovereign, those that have silence of the mind, that can see the truth, that have high vibrational components, that see through the lens of love only for self and for others, not a delusion, not an illusion of love. True love, it's a vibration that vibrates. That are willing to take the risks against judgment, that are willing to stand alone against the collective, that were willing to take all their power back from the darkness. Those are the only ones that will now take flight. They've learned their lessons and where they gave their power away to the darkness. And now they have earned their right through soul growth to be part of the new earth. Those that have learned where they gave their power away to the darkness, completely, 1,000% pure sovereign, have now earned their right to be a part of the new earth through soul growth, through love, through love. And the only way to truly see is to be in the here and the now, to rise above the illusion and to choose pure unconditional love, no matter what confusion comes into play. If you don't have control of your mind, you're not going to know what is light and dark in your head. If you've given your power to the shadow, you're going to believe that shadow to be so, no matter what I say. That's why some won't make it. You chose through free will to accept less than, to be less than, to feel less than love. You chose through free will. And you needed to learn the lessons of where you gave your power away in order to truly rise above. You are in a karmic play out. That is what they call the wrath of God. You cannot use the darkness and the light, and that's what everybody did. That's what everybody did in some way, shape, or form. And you had to learn where you were giving your power to the darkness and ripping apart the light. Adam and Eve, Jesus and Mary Magdalene, and Sekhmet and Hours, not just a man named Jesus. That makes no sense. So much love, my friends. The time to rise is now. These 13 gates that I have been doing, the earth is ascending right in front of you. And if you're not able to ascend with it, some will be able to see it the whole way and still not be able to get in because they didn't call their power back. They continue to give their power to the darkness and throw daggers at love, unconditional. Throw judgments to think that they know all. That's an illusion. Because it's always about learning. It's always about growing. Soul growth. You have to be growing as a soul. You have to be learning the lessons that took you apart from being whole, that removed you from God through your free will, from true God through the veil of illusion, through the fallen. So you are either choosing to be a part of the fallen, or you are choosing to be a light of God. I asked God what Judgment Day was. God doesn't judge at all. It's karmic demise. You reap what you sow. God says that you reap what you sow. If you choose into the shadow, you will reap those shadow because you cannot be both. So the light will be now removed from all of those that have shadow. It doesn't matter who they are. It doesn't matter any of it. It's if they give their power to the darkness of the light. You cannot be both. You cannot be both. So in order to say that God forgave your karma, you didn't heal anything within you. You have to heal all of the shadow out of you to be of pure light. You cannot be both. You cannot be both. So much love, my friends. I'm here for those of the path of the sun, for it's time to rise above. The time has come. The great reset is now. And if you were here, You were a chosen one. Just simply being alive now meant you were a chosen one. God doesn't just go, I think you and I think you. It's about who does the work to rise. Pure sovereign beings of free will. Know the truth. Know the difference. Do you choose love or karmic demise? You cannot have both. New earth is pure of karma. You cannot have karma to rise. You have to heal all shadow components within you that leave you blinded to that of the light, that cause you to give your power to the darkness instead of love. You're a powerful creator. You have power within you. And if you gave that power to darkness, you have karma and you cannot rise above. You have to call your power back. I hope you all watch everything I say, everything I do through the end, because there's always something important. It is true God, and it is true vast, and it's beyond the limited mind space of the shackles that bind. Those that can rise, those that have pure hearts, will hear me all of the way. They won't just hear little pieces. They will hear everything I say. Those are the ones God's looking for. The time to rise is now. So much love, my friends.